It's Wednesday, the 2nd of December 2020. Today's headlines. With the second lockdown of the United Kingdom coming to an end tomorrow, Associate Editor of the stage newspaper Lyn Gardner discusses on the future of theatre after the lockdown and also her opinion on the UK government that hopefully would want to work with theatre and not against it. Praise for a new role as a producer of shows at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival has now been working as a customer assistance support at local supermarkets during the coronavirus pandemic. Some pantomime productions may be under the threat of closure this Christmas, but all is not lost as a new drive-in pantomime and cinema comes to Norfolk coming up to Christmas Day. And we have an exclusive look at one of the very first musical productions to be put back in London's West End. For being one of the most successful for over the last few years, one of them is expected to have a very royal celebration, not just coming back to London's West End, but also as it comes up to Christmas, as one of them is just perfect for following the Rule of Six as one of part of the coronavirus pandemic regulations. Bringing you the latest theatre news where it matters most. This is Theatregoing News with Jack Wright. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are watching now. My name is Jack Wright, and welcome to this exclusive special new look edition of Theatregoing News, the spin-off series based off my theatre blog series of Theatregoing, keeping you up to date on all the latest news from the world of theatre and also the latest updates on future episodes once again on my theatre blog series of Theatregoing. Now, just to clarify, for any of you that have been following me quite recently on my official YouTube channel, with the ongoing coronavirus pandemic being still quite a threat at the moment in the world, I would just like to say that I am still clean and of course I'm still negative. I haven't got coronavirus over the last few months since the United Kingdom came into not just one but two lockdowns, and of course the end of the second lockdown will be happening from tomorrow afternoon. And also, I would just like to say that it's an absolute privilege for me to be back, of course, doing this, and we have got a load of stories to cover in this very special, once again, an exclusive edition of Theatregoing News, surrounding the future, of course, of most theatre productions that have been under threat during this pandemic. But also, all is not lost. We also have the latest update on a new tier system that's going to be introduced from tomorrow, and also we also have news of some possible vaccines that also have been made over the last few weeks and could be taken out and of course be given out by the start of next week. But with all that, of course, still to come, anyway, without further ado, here's today's main headlines. Theatre critic and associate editor of the stage newspaper Lyn Gardner criticised the UK government today, saying that they were not supportive enough during the coronavirus pandemic when it first hit the United Kingdom back in April, in also triggering a first UK lockdown. As well as that, with a new tier system that has just been introduced, this has affected theatre in quite a substantial way. Not just that, but when the first lockdown of the United Kingdom first started all the way back in April, loads of theatres, including mostly in London's West End, had to close, and as well as that, also job cuts of people working in the theatre industry also was a substantial amount, as that became one of the occurring things since this pandemic began. As well as that, it's also most other theatre productions could be under threat coming up to Christmas this year, with also pantomimes being one of the main ones that can be mostly affected. With an exclusive report from myself, I look more deeper into this story on how theatre, the industry itself, has been badly affected by this ongoing coronavirus since it started from earlier on from last year. If you wanted to destroy an entire industry, you probably couldn't come up with a better way than the government's response to theatre's predicament, and its predominantly freelance workforce during the pandemic. The virus isn't killing theatre, it's the government's ineptitude in dealing with the virus's impact on an art form that requires considerable upfront investment and people gathering together. Theatre was among the first sectors to close, and it looks like it will be one of the last to fully reopen. And the lack of clarity from the government and the failure to back a successful insurance scheme for all theatres, whatever their size and location, doesn't help. We all know that a vaccine is eventually coming, but it's unlikely to be rolled out quickly enough to save many theatres before they can return to full capacity. If it turns out the available vaccines suppress symptoms but do not prevent transmission, full capacity theatres may be even further off. It seems tragic at the moment that the government gives every impression of making it up as it goes along. It seems to have absolutely no understanding of how the industry works and no desire to consult or do the necessary legwork to find out. Earlier on this year in the summertime, when the government suddenly announced outdoor theatre could be open for 2 days' notice, some theatres managed it, but it added to the idea that the government had no clue about the time, effort and investment needed to make a production. Jack Wright, Theatregoing News. And I would just like to clarify in that report that the words that I may have said there during that report, they were not all by my words, they were taken from Lyn Gardner there of, once again, the Stage newspaper. Now, she's more well known for producing shows at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival, but due to the ongoing coronavirus pandemic, she's going down a different kind of aisle, as we have, of course, a 22-year-old of Charlotte Dukes, who, like I said already, is a producer of shows at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival. She is going from working in theatre to a supermarket during, of course, due to the current coronavirus pandemic. And most people have been praising her for her new role by working as a customer assistant supporter at the branch of ASDA in Aylesbury. She took up the position of the supermarket in May following the cancellation of several theatre productions due once again to the ongoing coronavirus pandemic. After graduating from university in 2019, she has then worked at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival as well as on several Shakespeare productions and a pantomime. But due to the pandemic, which has put the entertainment industry on its knees for the moment, Charlotte refused to dwell and took up a job at Aylesbury's ASDA, which is in directly opposite Stoke Mandeville Hospital. And not just being praised by the general public, but due to also her hard work and attitude in the role of being once again a customer assistant supporter, she has also been recently nominated for a service award by her colleague Joanna Henderson, who says that she delivers brilliant customer service with a friendly smile. She also added her customer service skills means that she has to go above and beyond and always has a happy smile on her face. This may be too far from her chosen career, which we will lose her to again all too soon, but she has embraced it currently. In my other role, I have to be quite flexible, as 1 minute you can be setting the stage and the next you're helping to dress the actors. Last year I did panto in Sevenoaks in Kent, where they put me in a giant panda costume, and as I was the only one who could fit in it. I generally say yes if I'm asked to do something. If someone can show me how to do it, I'll learn. When I'm working backstage, I have to do a lot of quick thinking and problem solving, and I feel like I've really benefited from that here. I was a bit nervous coming into this, to be honest, as it had been a while since I'd been in a customer service role. But once you've spoken to the first few customers and you know where things are, you're fine. I just had to ask so many questions in those first few weeks, as I had so many things to learn quickly. Now, as we go into the final day of the second lockdown of the United Kingdom, and it's supposed to stop from tomorrow evening, we have now got a brand new tier system that has now been put in place as we come up to Christmas. And yes, I have just been told by our production team that we've got some breaking news on the latest updates on what, of course, the tier system and what tiers parts of the United Kingdom will be in when this all will be taking place from tomorrow evening. Now, since, of course, these brand new tier, of course, system has been put into place from last Thursday, there has been a lot of confusion and even some negative responses from the general public on why, of course, these stricter restrictions have been put into place for, of course, surrounding the ongoing coronavirus pandemic. There has been some confusion, and also there have been some certain things that have been really looked into amidst this coronavirus pandemic going on currently. Well, this is an exclusive report from, of course, that comes from Mark Dwell of the Daily Mail newspaper, and we have got a full outline and also what of course, the new tier restrictions can mean for all of you watching, and what can be affected when these, of course, new tiers are being put into place from the start of tomorrow evening. And we can tell you all about that, as of course we have got a diagram which we're about to show you on screen right now on what you can't and can do, of course, during the next few weeks as we come up to Christmas, still during this coronavirus pandemic. During the second lockdown of the United Kingdom, the UK government and the NHS have introduced a brand new three-tier alert level system to hopefully halt the spread of coronavirus. These three-tier alert levels are put into place depending on the severity of certain places in the United Kingdom which could have the most spread cases of coronavirus. The lowest tier alert level in this system is medium, highlighted with the colour yellow. If this alert level is put in place for where you live, it means that you are only allowed to do the following things. A rule of 6 people indoors and outdoors in all settings. Businesses and venues can continue to operate in a COVID-secure manner, other than those that remain closed in law. Certain businesses are required to ensure customers only consume food and drink while seated and must close between 10 p.m. and 5 a.m. Schools and further education colleges and universities are to remain open. Places of worship are to remain open, subject to indoor and outdoor gathering rules. Up to 15 guests can be invited for weddings, and up to 30 guests can be invited for funerals, and 15 for receptions, wakes, and related ceremonies. And exercise classes and organised adult sport can take place outdoors, as can all youth sport and sports for disabled people indoors and outdoors. Other adult indoor sports and fitness activities must follow the rule of 6. The second higher alert level in this tier system is high, highlighted in amber. If a high alert level is put into place where you live, you can only do the following things. 1 household group and bubble indoors, with a rule of 6 outdoors. Businesses and venues can continue to operate in a COVID-secure manner, other than those that remain closed in law. Certain businesses are required to ensure customers only consume food and drink while seated and must close between 10 p.m. and 5 a.m. Schools and further education colleges and universities are to remain open. However, activities and facilities must reflect wider restrictions. Places of worship are to remain open, subject to indoor and outdoor gathering rules. Up to 15 guests can be invited for weddings, and up to 30 guests can be invited for funerals, and 15 for receptions, wakes, and related ceremonies. Exercise classes and organised adult sport can take place outdoors, as can all youth sport and sports for disabled people indoors and outdoors. Adult indoor sport and exercise classes can only be permitted if it's possible for people to avoid mixing with people they do not live with. And you can continue to travel to venues or amenities that are open for work and for access education, but you should look to reduce the number of journeys you make wherever possible. And lastly, the highest alert level on the tier system is very high, indicated by the colour red. If a very high alert level is put into place to where you live, you can only do the following things. 1 household group / bubble indoors, and in most outdoor venues. The rule of sticks still applies in some public outdoor settings, like parks, public gardens, and sports courts. Pubs and bars must close. They can only remain open if they operate as a restaurant, which means serving substantial meals. They may only serve alcohol as part of such of a meal. Schools and further education colleges and universities are to remain open. However, activities and facilities must reflect wider restrictions. Places of worship are to remain open, subject to indoor and outdoor gathering rules. Up to 15 guests can be invited for weddings, and up to 30 guests can be invited for funerals, and 15 for receptions, wakes, and related ceremonies. However, wedding receptions are not permitted. Exercise classes and organised adult sport can take place outdoors, as can all youth sport and sports for disabled people indoors and outdoors. Adult indoor sport and exercise classes can only be permitted if it's possible for people to avoid mixing with people they do not live with. You should try to avoid travelling outside the very high alert level area you are in. You can continue to travel to open venues, but should reduce the number of journeys you make wherever possible, other than for other things like work, education, or care responsibilities. And finally, you should avoid staying overnight in another part of the UK if you are a resident in a very high alert level area, or avoid staying overnight in a very high alert level area if you are a resident elsewhere. Now, I understand that was quite a lot to digest for all of you watching, and I know there's been a lot of confusion and people being a little bit concerned over this new free tier system putting into place from the start of tomorrow evening, and there's a few questions that we've just been told that on how, of course, you can find out on what tier you're in, of course, the United Kingdom when it gets put into place from the start of tomorrow, and also when they do take effect, as well as when the tier placings will be reviewed, how often. And I can tell you that how often that you can find out, or how you find out, I should say, of what tier that you're in. The government has launched a postcode checker, and you can find that out. We will also, you can find that out on our official website. And it initially experienced technical problems and was removed last week, but it's now back up and running. So it's all been checked. And you can also scroll through the list of what areas are, of course, in Tier 2, which would be high, and also very high, which is at number 3. And we're also going to do a rundown of that very, very shortly. And when the restrictions do take effect, the national lockdown for England ended, of course, earlier on last night at midnight at 12:01 a.m. Sorry, I do apologise, this morning, with the new tier restrictions coming into effect at that point, and they are going to be fully in place from the start of tomorrow as well. And how often there will be the tier placings be reviewed, and the tiers will be reviewed every 2 weeks, every fortnight, with the first review coming up on the 16th of December, and the new tiers will be announced on the following day, on the December the 17th, and take effect on the December the 19th, which is the last day before Christmas. So just to clarify also that we have, according to we've got the latest list of guidelines and also local restriction tiers by area from the UK government of which tiers the parts of the United Kingdom will be put into place over the Christmas period. Now, the decisions on which area goes into which tier is primarily based on 5 different epidemiological indicators, and they are case detection rates in all age groups, case detection rates of in the over 60s, the rate of which cases are rising and falling in particular areas, also positivity rate of the number of positive cases of coronavirus detected as a percentage of tests taken, and also the pressure on the NHS, including current and also projected occupancy as well. And the indicators are designed to provide a full picture on what is happening with the virus in any area, so that suitable action can be taken from tomorrow evening. So as we focus now on to just clarify, if you are watching this right now, we are giving you the latest update on which, of course, tiers are put into place in any part of the United Kingdom. And we'll start with the medium alert tier, tier number 1, and that is being put in place in the following regions of the southeast, and most specifically in the Isle of Wight. In the southwest, it's also being put into place in the counties of Cornwall and also the Isles of Scilly. And as we go into the second tier, the high alert level, that is going to be put in place for most parts of the East Anglia and the east of England, which will also include Bedfordshire and Milton Keynes, Cambridgeshire including Peterborough, and Essex and Thurrock and Southend-on-Sea, Hertfordshire, Norfolk and also Suffolk. And in the East Midlands, there will be a high alert level put in place in Northamptonshire and Rutland. And in the main capital city of London, all 32 boroughs, including the City of London itself, will be put under a high risk alert level as well. In the northwest, that will be put into Cumbria, the Liverpool City region, and also Warrington and Cheshire. In the southeast, Bracknell Forest, Brighton and Hove, Buckinghamshire, East Sussex, Hampshire, including Portsmouth and Southampton, Oxfordshire, Reading, Surrey, West Berkshire, West Sussex, Windsor and Maidenhead, and Wokingham. In the southwest, a high alert level will be put in the following places of Bath and North East Somerset, Bournemouth, Christchurch and Poole, Devon including Plymouth and Torbay, Dorset, Gloucestershire including Cheltenham, the Cotswolds, Forest of Dean, Gloucester, Stroud and Tewkesbury. In Somerset, South Somerset, the west part of Somerset and Taunton, Mendip and Sedgemoor, and Wiltshire and Swindon. In the West Midlands, Hertfordshire, Shropshire and Telford and Wrekin and Worcestershire. In Yorkshire, a high alert level will also be put into place in the City of York and North Yorkshire. And finally, the highest tier alert level, which will be very high alert, which will be in red, just to clarify if you did not see earlier on. Excuse me. They're going to be put in places of the East Midlands, in Derby and Derbyshire, Leicester and Leicestershire, Lincolnshire, Nottingham and Nottinghamshire. In the North East, the North East Combined Authority of County Durham, Gateshead, South Tyneside and Sunderland. The North of Tyne Combined Authority, including Newcastle upon Tyne, North Tyneside and Northumberland. And the Tees Valley Combined Authority, which will include Darlington, Hartlepool, Middlesbrough, Redcar and Cleveland, and Stockton-on-Tees. In the northwest, a high tier, very high tier warning alert will be put into the places of Blackburn, with Darwen, Blackpool, Greater Manchester and Lancashire. In the southeast, will be put into the following places of Kent and Medway and Slough, a remainder of Berkshire, which is currently at the high alert level in Tier 2. In the southwest, a high alert level, very high alert level, will be put into the places of Bristol, North Somerset and South Gloucestershire. The West Midlands, Birmingham, Dudley, Sandwell, Walsall and Wolverhampton. Staffordshire and Stoke-on-Trent, Warwickshire, Coventry and Solihull. And finally, in the Yorkshire region and the Humber, a high, very high alert level will also be put into the places of East Riding of Yorkshire, Kingston upon Hull, / also the main city of Hull, North East Lincolnshire, North Lincolnshire, South Yorkshire and West Yorkshire. And with that, that is all of the, that is the full list of local tier restrictions that are being put in to various areas that will be that will be put into place from the start of tomorrow afternoon. Well, we still have loads more news stories still to come on this very special, of course, exclusive and new look edition of Theatregoing News, including some more good news for, of course, a potential few vaccines that are going to be made by Pfizer and BioNTech, and they could begin vaccinations from the start of next week. It's normally a Christmas tradition, but it's with a twist this year, as a brand new drive-in pantomime and cinema comes to Norfolk for coming up this Christmas. And one of the first and biggest musicals currently in London's West End is set to reopen after being put on hold since September earlier on this year, and is also expected to have a very royal Christmas look. We'll have all that and a roundup of today's news when we come back. To this exclusive and special edition of Theatregoing News surrounding the ongoing current coronavirus pandemic. Now, we have been waiting for quite a long time this year, but now some hopeful vaccines have now been put into place and have also been approved by, of course, the UK government. And it's expected that the first country to try out in the world or to approve the Pfizer and BioNTech COVID-19 vaccine for widespread use. and the Medicines and Healthcare Products Regulatory Agency said it was safe to be rolled out. And studies find out that this vaccine has a 95% efficiency rate towards the virus, and that would hopefully cure it. We've also got an exclusive report from the Guardian newspaper and also from the Health Secretary, Matt Hancock, that can tell us more on the hopeful plans to roll out this vaccine that could be by the start, at the very earliest, I should say, from next week.
Today marks a new chapter in our fight against this virus. Ever since the pandemic hit our shores almost a year ago, we have known that a vaccine would be critical to set us free. Any vaccine must go through a rigorous process of clinical trials involving thousands of people and extensive independent scrutiny from the MHRA, one of the world's most respected medical regulators. Today, I'm delighted to inform the House that the MHRA has issued the clinical authorization of the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine. This is a monumental step forward. It's no longer if there's going to be a vaccine, it's when. In our battle against the virus, help is on its way. The UK is the first country in the world to have a clinically approved coronavirus vaccine for supply. And now our task is to make use of the fruits of this scientific endeavour to save lives. Mr. Speaker, we've spent months preparing for this day so that as soon as we got the green light, we would be ready to go. We were the first country in the world to pre-order supplies of this successful vaccine, and we have 40 million doses pre-ordered for delivery over the coming months, enough for 20 million people because 2 jabs are required for each. Following authorization, the next stage is to test each batch of the vaccine for safety, and I can confirm that batch testing has been completed this morning for the first deployment of 800,000 doses of the vaccine. These doses are for the whole United Kingdom. The NHS will be able to start vaccinating from early next week. The whole purpose of the vaccine is to protect people from COVID so we can get lives back to normal. So we will prioritise the groups who are at greatest risk. This is a day to remember, frankly, in a year to forget. We can see the way out of this, but we're not there yet, so let's keep our resolve, keep doing our bit to keep people safe until science can make us free.
Matt Hancock there, the Secretary of State of Health and Social Care. Now here's a little news summary on more news stories from the world of theatre that's happened over the last few weeks and months. The Theatre Trust has responded to the UK Chancellor Rishi Sunak's spending review from today. Sunak's forecast was naturally overshadowed by the significant impact and cost of the coronavirus pandemic, with growth set to be significantly stymied for the next couple of years. However, there have been also plans to set up for major capital investment and a levelling up fund to help improve local infrastructure. Given the well-documented lucrative nature of the arts industry, John Morgan of the Theatres Trust responded to the news this afternoon, saying, "With 100 billion for capital investment and a 4 billion levelling up fund in the spending review, Theatres Trust believes that investment should be made into the nation's theatre buildings. Theatres can play a crucial role in the Build Back Better agenda as vital creative and community hubs, as major contributors to local economies, in particular reviving beleaguered high streets. Theatres are at the epicentre of a multi-billion-pound ecosystem, linked to nearby hotels, restaurants, transport systems, and many, many more aspects of wider society. A recent Arts Council England report put a significant emphasis on the pivotal relationship between cultural venues and high streets. As the London Mayor Sadiq Khan said, the pandemic has led to an existential threat to the West End. Morgan added, Our research has identified more than 80 theatre building improvement projects that are currently in development but are at risk due to COVID. These projects would provide new community facilities and improved access and environmental performance and would benefit from timely government investment, ensuring these assets continue to be fit for purpose in the 21st century and provide a much-needed boost to local communities. While the government's £1.57 billion art support package was welcomed by the theatre world, many urgent questions still remain around help for the freelance community, with a significant portion of the self-employed ineligible for the government-backed CISIS. Tradition with a Twist is coming to the Norfolk Showground this Christmas, with a drive-in pantomime and cinema bound to get audiences into the festive spirit. The event has been organised by Pop-Up Pictures in collaboration with the Norfolk Showground and is bringing the drive-in cinema back after successful events earlier on in the summer and for Halloween this year, where 12 different festive films will be screened, including The Nightmare Before Christmas, The Holiday, Die Hard, The Polar Express, Love Actually, Bad Santa, How the Grinch Stole Christmas, The Grinch, Home Alone, Elf, The Muppet Christmas Carol, and Miracle on 34th Street. Due to popular demand, both Elf and Home Alone will be shown 3 times each. Alongside this, there will be screenings of the pantomime Jack and the Beanstalk, performed at the Belgrade Theatre in Coventry. It has been written and directed by the venue's regular pantomime dame, Ian Lachlan, who also created children's TV shows Fun Song Factory and The Tweenies. While the event is due to start the day after tier restrictions are reviewed, with Norfolk currently due to enter Tier 2 on the 3rd of December, the government guidance states that drive-ins are allowed under all tiers.
I'm the director of Pop-Up Pictures Outdoor Cinema Club, and we are here in the Norfolk Showground to do our drive-in movies. We got into the drive-thrus because we've been doing the outdoor cinema for 5 years, and after a couple of years we just wanted to evolve a little. So we've done some Halloween and Christmas movies, and obviously it's a bit cold to do outdoors, so we tried the drive-ins. And under the current circumstances with the pandemic, it was an opportunity to do that again in the summer, which we've never done. We've set up two arenas. So we've got one arena with an LED screen, so we can show movies during the daytimes for the kids and the families, and maximise the fact that we're here for a 4-day period. And we've got our normal projection screen, which is the After Dark one, which is a bigger screen that we use for our outdoor cinemas around East Anglia. My favourite movie of all time, I would say, is Big. Yeah, Tom Hanks' fave for me. Yeah, classic for me.
Welcome to What Pops. We're at the Norfolk Showground this weekend. Why don't you come and try our delicious, authentic Chinese food? We've got a range of selection.
Actors Maria Friedman and Adrian de Gregorian have launched a new production company to take the West End to the nation's doorsteps. Backed by theatre figures including Sir Cameron Mackintosh, Nika Byrne and Sonia Friedman, as well as Andrew Lloyd Webber's Really Useful Group Limited, Doorstep Productions will stage personalised performances from hit shows in full costume, on streets, driveways and in gardens across the UK. It is a promising song and dance spectacle featuring up to 6 performers with audiences able to choose songs and scenes from shows including Les Miserables, Mary Poppins, The Phantom of the Opera and Dreamgirls. The company will also be offering a Dickensian carols singing experience over the festive period. Alongside Dee Gregorian, who is her husband, Maria Friedman had assembled a group of West End actors, singers, musicians and dancers who will travel across the country to stage the socially distant shows. She said, "Everything seems to be deliverable these days, so why not the West End? I felt as though it was so important to get members of my profession up, out and doing what they do best, touching people's hearts, singing at the top of their voices, dancing, entertaining and making people feel loved and alive, reminding them that they are worthwhile and along the way help them pay a few bills." Before lockdown, your family may have had to wait a year to see their favourite show. Well, now you don't have to miss it. We can bring the best bits to you, and you don't have to even face the tubes and crowds. We can now bring it to your doorstep. Several suppliers have given their services for free in order to get the project up and running, including costumers Angels, wig makers Campbell Young Associates, prop supplier Propworks, Duenters and Bob King Creative. Prices for the performances will be bespoke, but a full costume performer within London will cost around £250. With each booking, Doorstep Productions will make a donation to theatre charities. The main headlines again, and with Lyn Gardner from, once again, the theatre critic and associate editor of the Stage newspaper, has criticised the UK government for their handling and not being supportive of the theatre industry during the ongoing coronavirus pandemic. And she has been saying that we need a government that works with theatre, not against it. The producer of Edinburgh Fringe Festival shows, once again of Charlotte Dukes, has of course gone from working into theatre to working at the Aylesbury branch of ASDA, working once again as a customer assistant supporter during this pandemic. And also, currently, at the moment, with the United Kingdom has become the first country in the world to approve of the Pfizer and BioNTech COVID-19 vaccine for widespread use. The Medicines and Healthcare Products Regulatory Agency said it was safe to be rolled out, and studies found out that the vaccine has a 95% efficiency rate against the virus. And the Health Secretary of Social Care, Matt Hancock, says that the NHS stands ready to start vaccinating early from the start of next week. And finally, it may be a dark time at the moment for the world of musical theatre, but now there is some hope, as one of the most popular musical productions at the moment in London's West End is about to return after being put back since September because of the recent second lockdown of the United Kingdom. Six the Musical, a modern retelling of the lives of the 6 wives of King Henry VIII of England all the way back in the Tudor period. But now they've been given a 21st century makeover, and now they are all singing and all dancing pop singers. And also the show is also being given a pop concert and talent competition format. Not just once again being one of the most popular musicals at the moment currently in London's West End, but at the start on this Saturday, it will reopen for the first time since it was going to be performed all the way back in September earlier on this year. But also as well, the musical is going to be taking place in a completely different theatre to where it normally is, which would normally be the Arts Theatre in London's West End. But now it's got a new temporary home of the Lyric Theatre, once again in London's West End. But as well as that, writers of the musical Toby Marlowe and Lucy Moss have also added some few additional things to this production. That even though that, of course, this is going to be a production that is not going to have as many people that will go in to see the show, as there's a much more tighter restrictions, as we mentioned earlier on, amidst the coronavirus currently, the pandemic at the moment. But we have got an exclusive video from whatsonstage.com, as we also had, of course, Toby and Lucy talk to the website, and also we have two of the people that are playing currently two of the queens in Six the Musical in the current West End production, which are the actors of Sophie Isaacs and Danielle Steers. Once again, from our whatsonstage.com, here's an exclusive look at the returning production, once again, the new upcoming production of Six the Musical, coming back once again soon to London's West End, later on this week, in, of course, December.
We're so lucky that our job is our biggest love and biggest passion, and we get up every day and we love every single minute of being in work. So I think lockdown has been even more difficult in that sense, because we get up every day and we're like, right, so what should we do then? And it does feel a little bit like the forgotten industry that's been sort of kicked to the curb a little bit. And I just think it's absolutely incredible that there are producers out there pushing and getting theatre back.
Like, our producers are, I mean, exactly what you dream of from producers, in that, like, their main thing is they love theatre, they love the show, and they're just doing everything to get that kind of experience out there for people. It's, you know, it's all driven by just like a love of the medium and a love of the show. So we're just, we're grateful for them.
So grateful, and just unbelievably lucky that we have producers that are doing that. We're aware that it's rare. That was hard to say, but it is hard to say. Yeah, the fact that it's coming so soon is actually like overwhelmingly amazing, and it feels. Well, it feels lots of things, actually.
Yeah.
It feels amazing, and it's also like, oh gosh.
Very, like, nerve-wracking.
Very nerve-wracking to, like, be the first musical to be doing it, but ultimately, like, trust our producers so much.
Looking out there is going to be, it's going to have the same impact as it does at the Arts.
And making up for lost time.
Exactly.
We've been shut down for so long. They are going to be there bigger and louder and stronger than ever before.
They're waiting for it, so yeah.
As you can see behind, the seats are covered in plastic at the moment, but they are going to be kind of taken out and then spaced out, so there's at least 1 metre plus between all of the seats. And then there's this fancy algorithm, which we just learned about, which is basically where, depending on what kind of groups you book in, there'll be kind of a space between your group and every other group. So there'll be kind of social distancing between every group maintained throughout. And that means that kind of like, so let's say you book a group of 2 books, there'll be like 2 of them and then like a space, and then another night there'll be a group of 4 and whatever. So there's actually never going to be the same configuration of audience members.
It's going to be unique every time, just like live theatre is.
Literally.
Yeah, and then there's going to be like hand sanitising, there's going to be temperature checks, there's going to be deep cleans.
We've got 100-page Bible
Yes, we
to
do.
read through,
To make sure
keep
that
us busy.
we're looking after ourselves. We'll have our temperatures checked, we'll have regular COVID tests to make sure we're safe.
We kind of had the chance on Broadway as a creative team to kind of make little like tweaks and just polish everything up. It's really exciting to have the opportunity to bring that to London as well. So we're really excited for the kind of like shiniest version of Six yet.
You walk out with a smile on your face, and I think that's what people need right now. And they get involved as well. So they want to feel like a pop star, and you can just escape for a night, and that's what everyone's waiting for, just to escape.
Well said, Danielle, well said indeed. And I'd just like to clarify that, of course, even though that, the video that we just showed you of course, an exclusive look at the upcoming, revived production of Six the Musical, being the first one to go out, of course, and go ahead and reopen amidst, of course, this coronavirus pandemic, and also the second lockdown on the United Kingdom. That was back in September. September, but I can confirm, everybody, that if any of you are interested and want to go and see that, of course, production of Six the Musical, we have got some actual dates for you from the official website of Six the Musical right now. And once again, just to clarify, that, of course, the West End production of Six the Musical is going to be taking place at the Lyric Theatre from this Saturday on the 5th of December, and it will go all the way through to the 18th of April in 2021. So, of course, they've just announced, of course, they're actually extending it because of the delay of the course of the production being put on hold because of the lockdown, the previous lockdown of the United Kingdom. And as well as that, they've also just announced dates also for when it returns back to the initial venue of where Six the Musical took place all the way back in 2018, would you believe? And that will be on the 20th of April 2021 to the 5th of September 2021. And also, just to clarify, as well as that production of Six the Musical in the West End, they are also going to be doing the UK touring production, and also that production of Six the Musical will also be going on as well, and will be taking place. It will be slightly later than, of course, the West End production, but it still will go ahead, and they will take place at the Lowry Theatre at Salford Quays in Manchester from the 19th of December 2020, and that will run to the 17th of January 2021. And also, just to remind you that if you want to book tickets, you can also visit the official website of the show, which is www.sixthemusical.com. And with that, that is today's edition, and special, of course, and revived edition of Theatregoing News. I would like to say a huge thank you for once again watching. I know that this year has been a very eventful year for not just the theatre industry, but for myself included, since, of course, I haven't done many, videos or vlogs of my theatre blog series of Theatregoing. The only one that I have done is, of course, initially titled Theatregoing Social Distancing, and very appropriately, of course, acknowledging that it's still a big part of one of the things that needs to be still being done as of currently during the coronavirus pandemic. But if you haven't actually watched it, it's I went to go and see a production, a social distance production of Treasure Island by KD Theatre Productions, one of the local theatre groups that, of course, is around here in the UK, of course, or where I live here in Cambridgeshire. And just to also remind you that also they are working on a current pantomime production that is going to be taking place later on this month, of course, once again leading up to Christmas, and they're going to do a production of The Wizard of Oz. Initially it was going to be Sleeping Beauty, but now they've managed to adapt to this pandemic, and now they're doing a brand new production which will only include 6 people on stage, following the rule of 6, of course, COVID-19 relegations as well, and or regulations, I should say, for that matter. I do apologise. And also you can find out more information. They are going to be taking place at the Maltings in Ely, where I've been before from a few years ago, and you can also buy tickets on, of course, to those productions. And there's not many, as you know, because obviously the capacity in the theatre is going to be greatly reduced because of the social distancing and with the current regulations surrounding theatres at the moment. But that will all change, hopefully, to coming up to the new year of 2021. And of course, we're feeling all optimistic, especially myself also, with what's been going on. I have every hope that, of course, this virus will be beaten come round the new year in 2021 with all this news of the vaccines. And of course, on the topic of that, also, if you've missed out on any of the news stories during this, of course, special coronavirus pandemic edition of Theatregoing News, you can also, if you've missed out on this, if you are watching this at a later time, you can watch it on demand, and also you can check it out on my official YouTube channel, which is at Jackpot Button Lewis Productions. And also, if you enjoyed this video, please don't forget, to give it a like. Comment down below for your thoughts on the latest news stories. And once again, you can also subscribe to my official YouTube channel, once again titled Jackpot Button Lewis Productions, so you'll never miss out on the upcoming episodes, once again, of Theatregoing news, and also my theatre blog series, also of Theatregoing. But also, just clarify, I have a feeling that I may not get the chance to go and see a Christmas pantomime this year. I know that also my family are very anxious at the moment with what's been going on, and of course, as we go into Christmas, this could be another big challenge because it's not over yet, but this is a very important time, a turning point in this pandemic. If this, of course, hopefully this will stop the spread of it, and hopefully it can be cured. Fingers crossed. But anyway, thank you very much for watching this once again, this long-dated and, of course, lengthy and also special and revived edition of Theatregoing News. And as always, until next time, thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you very soon for more latest news stories from the world of theatre, and also more updates on, of course, future episodes, once again on my theatre blog series of Theatregoing. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you very soon. Goodbye.